pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Take a couple seconds here while everybody gets situated. I apologize for starting late today, and Mayor actually has to be at a meeting at 8:15 at York Township, so I have to move this meeting along. To make this meeting official, I would ask Clerk Spencer, the best clerk in the city of Elmhurst, to call the roll.
Okay. Pezza. Here. Gudenhoff. Here. Leader.
Here.
Dunn.
Here.
Polumsky. Here. Excuse me, Graham.
Here.
Then Polumsky. Here, I'll give you that. Okay, York.
Here.
Hipskin.
Here.
Healy.
Here.
Levin.
Here.
Kennedy.
Here.
Morley. Wagner.
Here.
Mulliner.
Here.
14 present, 0 absent.
14 present, 0 absent. We have an official quorum. At this time, I would ask if there are any written communications or petitions from the public. If there is anyone out there that has anything, please rise and present those to Clerk Spencer at this time. Any written communications and or petitions from the public? Seeing none, I would go on to public forum, which is number 4 on the agenda. And Clerk Spencer, has anyone signed up for public forum today?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, we have 3 people. We'll start with Claude Pagash, 566 West Gladys.
All right, Claude, and as you know, we have 3 minutes. If you please state your name and address, and we will always be glad to hear from Claude.
Let's hope so. This evening, I would ask the aldermen, since it's on the agenda, to vote against item I. I do not desire public funds to be spent for a consultant. This council, by its vote, stated they think this is a good idea. They based that vote on knowledge they possessed, on the facts. If this council desires to bring in firms that sell electric power, I don't care. I'm willing to come down here and ask them questions. I don't care if aldermen have meetings in their district and have firms that sell electric power. But I do not appreciate the fact that this council is attempting to hire somebody that will present facts that are of the past, not the present. This council, by its vote, decided that this was a good idea, and they should be willing to meet with the people that elected them and tell them what they used to base their vote on. And if I'm going to hear from somebody, I want to hear from the people that are going to sell this, not some guy that thinks he has some idea what is. I get enough paperwork at home about people willing to sell me electric, phone systems, gas, and everything else. You had your shot at it. You voted for it. You suspended the rules to get that on the referendum. There was no discussion about it, other than the fact you wanted it on the referendum. Because too many referendums, it wouldn't get on. So if you want to bring the people that are going to sell this stuff, a dozen of them, I don't care. I'll be here every meeting. But I don't want public money spent on a consultant. And I don't want a brochure in my water bill. That, again, is public money. I pay for that, man.
Thank you, Claude.
Next, we have John Roboletti, 625 West Gladys.
John Roboletti, 625 West Gladys. For the people up there, the aldermen that voted for this aggregate electric, how come at that time they didn't say, well, we're going to need a consultant? What do we need a consultant for? For him to tell you how to vote, yes or no? You need a consultant, then get one when you raise taxes and sewer rates and everything else in this city.
Thank you, Mr. Abeletti.
And last, we have Chuck Sutton, 743 South Prospect.
Thanks, I appreciate it. My name is Chuck Sutton. I live in Elmhurst, 743 Prospect. I'm also the president of MC Squared, one of the retail licensed electricity suppliers in the state. We're not a consultant, we're the actual supplier. We serve already dozens of customers, residents in the city of Elmhurst. I would just note that while you're going through this aggregation program, which is fine, there are already 250,000 plus residential customers saving money today versus ComEd rates, and I would consider that the council consider putting the ICC, Illinois Commerce Commission's website link to all the licensed suppliers on there. There's no reason to wait till go through the aggregation program to save money. People are already saving money. You have options today. There's more than a dozen licensed suppliers out there with different programs that may fit or not fit. So I would just encourage the council to consider looking at that as an option of before going through it, and while you're going through it, people could save money currently, and please consider putting that ICC website link on your website so people can get information. Thanks.
Thank you.
That concludes public forum as far as who has signed in for tonight.
All righty. Anybody else possibly out there would like to speak? Okay. Patty, thank you for handling public forum. I will close the public forum portion of our meeting now and go on to announcements. Anyone with announcements? Anybody? All right, slow day in Elmhurst, so sorry about that. And now we move on to our consent agenda, which is item 6. And at this time, is there anyone that has a question or possibly intention to vote no on any particular item? Please indicate that at this time. Alderman Healy.
Letter G, as in girl.
Letter G. Okay. I apologize. And anyone else? Alderman Pezza?
Item I.
Item I. Okay, anybody else? Okay, hearing none, I'd ask for a motion and a second to pass the contents of the consent agenda, less items G as in George and I. Alderman Wagner with a motion, second. Alderman Brown. And I would ask Clerk Spencer to call the roll, please.
I didn't get the motion.
Motion to approve the consent agenda, less items G and I.
Yes, but who made that motion?
Wagner?
Oh, Wagner, and
And Alderman
second by Bram. Yes,
Yeah.
I got that. Thank you.
No problem. And Clerk Spencer, if you could please call the roll.
Yes. Wagner.
Aye.
Bram.
Aye.
Polumsky. Aye. York.
Aye.
Hipskin.
Aye.
Healy.
Aye.
Levin.
Aye.
Kennedy.
Aye.
Morley.
Aye.
Mulliner.
Aye.
Pezza.
Aye.
Gudenkauf.
Aye.
Leader.
Aye.
Dunn.
Aye.
14 ayes, 0 nays.
14 ayes, 0 nays. The consent agenda passes. Last items G and I. And at this time, I would move on to item G, which is a report, a recommendation. Clerk Spencer, if you'd be so kind to read the recommendation, please.
It is therefore the recommendation of the Public Affairs and Safety Committee that the City Council approve the extension of the modification agreement until October 31st, 2012, or a new agreement is entered into by the district and the City of Elmhurst or another service provider. Respectfully submitted, Public Affairs and Safety Committee, signed by Patrick Wagner, Chairman, Paula Pezza, Vice Chairman, and Michael Bram.
And at this time, I entertain a motion and a second to put this on the floor. Chairman Wagner with the motion, second by Vice Chairman Pezza. Discussion, Chairman Wagner.
Thank you, Mr. Meyer. I'll defer to Alderman Healy.
Thank you, Chairman, Mr. Mayor. This is an issue that we have been dealing with for a few years. We have passed several, maybe several is too strong. We've passed at least a couple of extensions. This council has previously taken action to remedy the situation with the establishment of the SSA. The county board is involved. I understand that that's where the SSA still is, and it's held up there. I believe it's time that we address the issue once and for all, and I don't want to say force the issue, but really come to a resolution, and whether that resolution is to sign a new deal, one that is favorable to all parties and that ensures that residents in this unincorporated DuPage or Cook, I'm not sure if it's either, but non-Elmhurst residents pay the same rate as Elmhurst residents. And we've identified the solution. We've identified a path to the solution. I think it's just time that we either implement the solution or we agree to disagree with the fire protection district and move on. I am not supportive of another modification agreement. I'm not supportive of another extension. I think it's time we reach the end game. So I am not supportive of this report and believe it's time that we get a new deal or move on. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman. Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I guess more of a comment, and I think we've all are aware of where the situation. We've almost exhausted most of our patience with this topic. But currently, we're operating without a contract. It has lapsed. And so I am of the mind to think that I really don't want to operate in that area, because we would have to anyway under a mutual aid call without a contract, and kind of be floating out there without any kind of dollar revenue stream coming back to the city. I certainly sympathize with Alderman Healy and a few of the other aldermen on the council. This came out of committee. The report was signed by all three of us, and I would request that we support this at least until October 31st again. However, in parallel motion is activity with the county board to try to make sure that this item gets on the county board agenda sooner, much rather than later. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Alderman Brown?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As Chairman Wagner has already stated, we are operating without a contract today. I think it's in our best interest as a city to at least extend the contract to October 31st. There are actions being sought, not as quick as at least myself and probably most of us would like, but there's actions being sought with the county to see if we can address this issue once and for all. This ensures that we continue to have revenue from this source. I think it would be in best interest of not only ourselves but the residents of Elmhurst to extend this contract. I would hate to see us not extend this contract and send a message when we're making some good headway finally over the last few years with the fire protection district, with the county board, and what type of taste would that leave in their mouth by sending that type of message by not moving forward with this extension. So I do support this fully, and I would strongly encourage the rest of the council to do as well.
Thank you, Alderman. Any other questions or discussion? Hearing none, we can do this by voice vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no.
No.
Motion passes. Go on to ordinance. And going on to item I, which is also a recommendation, I would ask Clerk Spencer to read the recommendation. Thank you.
It is therefore the recommendation of the Finance, Council Affairs, and Administrative Services Committee that the City Council approve contracting with NIMEC for electric aggregation consultant services for a fee of 0.0002 per kilowatt hours. Respectfully submitted, Finance, Council Affairs, and Administrative Services Committee, Stephen W. Hipskin, signed by Stephen W. Hipskin, Chairman, Kevin L. York, Vice Chairman, Mark A. Mulliner, and Scott M. Levin.
And at this time, I ask for a motion and a second to put this particular item on the floor. Chairman Hipskin with a motion, seconded by Vice Chairman York. Discussion, Chairman Hipskin.
I think Alderman Pezza pulled this.
Alderman Pezza.
Did you have some questions?
Thank you. I don't have any questions, but since there seems to be a lot of concerns and questions, and I think some misconceptions, which at first glance I actually had until I learned more about this, regarding hiring this consultant, I was going to just suggest if someone from the Finance Committee could give a very quick, brief overview as to where and how that's going to be paid for, that it's not coming out of our budget. And give a little explanation for those watching so there's no misconception.
Yeah, sure. Sure, I'll answer that. As the report says, we met last week to discuss this. Obviously, electric aggregation is a relatively new topic, relatively new, and it's not something that that the city has a ton of expertise on. So even from the get-go, it was pretty much clear that we were going to more than likely use a consultant to help us with the placement of the referendum, getting the information out to the public so that they could understand everything about it and make a decision based on the facts that suited their needs. So that's what we did. This is a professional services contract, something that, you know, we don't even have to, quote, have to go out for bid on, but we did. It's the right thing to do, to get proposals from lots of different folks, compare them, and come up with the best answer. So that's the approach that the city staff took, and after a lot of work with sending out the request for proposals, getting them in, evaluating them, making sure they were on time, and all those types of things, this is the decision that we came up with. In the meantime, we've had a gentleman from from an electric aggregator who's raised a couple concerns, but basically the concerns that were raised were answered in a memo that was put out today by the city manager. I know that city staff worked on it today, just to make sure that we were all okay in the questions that were raised. So hopefully everybody up here at the City Council's had an opportunity to look at that memo that was written this afternoon. And the very fact of it is that, as Alderman Pezza was asking about, is that the fee, if you will be paid out of the savings of the consumer. So it's not a budget item. The city's not hiring a consultant. This is a very common way things are done in this particular arena. In fact, I won't go as far as to say it's done this way in every instance, but I believe it is done this way in every instance. So there will be no monies coming out of the city's coffers for this. It'll be in the newly negotiated rate. Something that we did learn today is there's a couple little smaller fixed costs, like about $1,500, I believe, in a placement fee. Is that correct, City Manager Grabowski?
It's to get the listing of our load from ComEd.
So information that we have to pay for, but every municipality that does this has to pay for it. So nothing outside the ordinary. I certainly don't see any problems at all. In fact, I feel much more comfortable that we have somebody who's a professional in this assisting us with this, and I would ask for everybody's support.
Very good. Thank you. Alderman Levin?
I think it's also important that people understand that the consultant isn't a marketing consultant that's going to help us go out and sell this program to our residents. The consultant is an energy professional who's going to help us develop the request for proposals that the ultimate aggregator will respond, that all of the aggregators will respond to, and then will help us evaluate those and choose the best person with whom we want to do business, help us negotiate the rates with the person we select, and provide the technical assistance on this new program as we go forward. There is a marketing part, but it's probably the smallest part of what the consultant is doing. If it were just a matter of if we were hiring someone to just sell this program, I think that probably wouldn't have occurred. It would be something we would do ourselves. So the consultant is far more of a technical person or technical contract than it is marketing.
Thank you, Alderman. Alderman Gutenkopf.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a question because something Alderman York said confused me based on what the report reads, if I may. The report reads, it is estimated that the average electricity retail customer that does not opt out of the EAP will underwrite approximately $2 of this consultant cost in the initial year of the EAP. Does that mean that the residents who choose not to go with the electric aggregation program are the ones that will eventually pay for the consultant that does this? What does that mean?
No, it means the residents who do not opt out are going to be the ones who, through the .0002 kilowatt hour, actually end up subsidizing the fee, the
That's what I just
consultant's
said.
fee.
No, you said the opposite.
Isn't that
No,
what I
you
just-
said that backward, I believe.
It sounded,
It says here that the retail customers that do not opt out are the ones that are gonna pay the cost of the consultant.
Correct.
correct.
And it's gonna be about $2 per household. So even though that is not, isn't that what that says? That it's gonna cost them $2, is that $2?
If you do not opt out, you are participating in the program. It's a kind of a double negative,
Oh, okay,
Double
so the
negative.
people that don't opt out,
are the ones who are going
so if you participate in the program, then you are the person who pays the consultant's fee.
That's right.
Thank you.
Go. Great clarification, good question, good answer. And, Alderman Pezza.
Thank you. That was the exact point I was hoping that would come across here. So what I would just like to express is, A, it's important, the education piece is crucial, because people need to understand that there are a lot of people that do want this. So if you don't want it, you will have a choice. You can opt out, therefore you will not be paying this fee. So I think education is important, and people need to make a choice. And that's the best we can do here, is allow people to have a choice and make a choice. So that was why I pulled this.
Thank you, Alderman Healy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A couple additional points around the fee. First, that if the referendum passes, we are not obligated to do aggregation. We would only do aggregation if we can find a really good deal and save the residents money. So, assuming that happens, the $2 that the people participating in the program pay would be more than offset by their savings. So if they pay if quote unquote the fee is $2 a year, then we had better be saving them at least tenfold that to have to charge them that. Now, I think it's more than that we'll end up saving based on what Oak Park has done and Oak Brook has done and many other communities. But I think it's important that nobody will see a $2 fee or any kind of fee on their bill. It's the savings that are generated will more than offset the consultant's fee. So it's spending down some of the savings that, but if you think about it, it's spending down the savings that the consultant helped us find, as strange as that sounds. And it's a one-time shot that the second year, third year, what have you, that fee does not reoccur.
Very good. Very well clarified. And any other discussion or questions? Otherwise,
I'm sorry, I need to clarify the last point that Alderman Healy made. That is a fee that is continual, that is built into the rate. So as long as we are with that supplier, that fee will continue.
okay. Alderman York.
Yeah, and I wanted to answer that too. The rate will, the rate will go down. The first year's consultant, the first year .0002 will substantially be reduced in the second year because the work required to have information around the referendum won't have to take place. The aggregator will still need to go into the marketplace at the end of the first year and negotiate the next electricity purchase, if you will. So there's going to be some energy that's a bad word. There's going to be some effort expended there to do that, but it'll be at a much lower rate in years 2 and beyond.
Alderman Levin.
Yeah, I think 2 points. One is this report, or what we're talking about is this rate for the initial year. That's all we're talking about. We haven't talked about anything for the second year. That'll be a separate request, and we'll see what our needs are. It could be a different vendor, you never know. The second thing is, if the referendum doesn't pass, there's no fee. So there's been a lot of discussion here about what it's costing. There really is no cost unless the referendum passes and unless people are going to get savings, and it's going to be paid for by the people who get the savings. If the referendum doesn't pass or you opt out, so you're not participating, it's not going to cost you anything. It's an opportunity for those who want to save, and I will be one of them, to pay for it and save more than what you're paying.
I think we'll all be in that line. Chairman Epstein.
And that savings really is probably 100-fold on average, if not greater.
Very good. Alderman, anybody not talk yet? Alderman Braham, and then Alderman Healer again.
Sorry, I didn't have a chance either. Thank you. In regards to that topic, because the way I read the report, and it's, I know it's not intentional, but it was a little bit misleading. I thought this was a one-time charge. Because the second to last paragraph, the paragraph before the recommendation, does state that it will underwrite approximately $2 of this consultant cost in the initial year of the EAP. So I took that as a one-time cost, so I'm glad we had this discussion. Do we know that the fee will be less, or what the fee will be in succeeding years? Is that going to be a part of the ordinance? How are we ensuring that it's somewhere documented that that fee is not going up?
Vice Chairman York.
We're certain that if market conditions suggest to us that it's a good idea to do this program again in the future, that the fee will be less.
Where's it documented?
Well, it's a one-year contract. So at the end of the year, we walk away from it. If we're happy with the consolidator, or with the aggregator, then we're certainly would probably invite them back to the table to give us their fee for the next year. We would also, at that point in time, ask some other aggregators go out for a request for a proposal at that point in time too, because we want to do whatever we can to make sure that the electric consumer is getting the best possible deal. As has been brought up in some previous discussions before, we anticipate that the whole marketplace is going to get more competitive, and that ComEd or its parent company might at some point in time be the lowest cost provider of electricity. This is all crystal ball stuff. So this is a one-year contract, and we will look at it again at the conclusion.
Very good. Alderman Healy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And just to follow up on Alder Braham's questions, and he asked one that I wanted to ask, but now I'm a little confused, because I also had the same impression that this was a one-year fee would be paid for in 1 year and we move on. This is for the consultant, not necessarily it's not the aggregator, it's the consultant. If the referendum passes and if we do aggregation and we sign a multiple year deal with an aggregator, which I believe Oak Park did, I believe theirs was a multiple year deal because of savings and whatnot. If we engage in a multiple year deal, we won't have to pay the consultants for years 2, 3, and 4, so the fee would not be repeated. Is that correct? Because the way I'm reading it is, and I think Alderman Braham had the same idea, was, all right, we pay the aggregate or the consultant year 1, contract's over, it's done. But if we do a 2 or 3 year deal with the aggregator that we go with, after year 1, there is no $2 per household fee. Do I have that correct? And that's an if. I understand there's a lot of ifs in my question, but.
Chair Nipskin?
If that's the way we choose to write the contract.
Okay, so.
The logic, if we did a multi-year with, at this point, we would negotiate a one-time fee or a fee broken up between 3 years, whatever is most beneficial for the taxpayers.
So then on the other side of that, if we do a 1 year deal with an aggregator, and then should we have to hire a consultant again to help us the following year, then we may have, or.
Well, that, and logic follows at that second year, most of the work would be done and we'd be negotiating at a much lower rate.
Understood. Okay, thank you.
So, and we're, just as all the committees, we're looking out for the best interest and really, you know, this is for the people, and it will be a significant savings for everyone in Elmhurst. Not a direct savings off your tax bill, but a direct savings off your electricity bill, which is paid through after your wages already paid tax. So if we're on average, if you're saving $1, you're really saving $1.20. So it's a pretty significant amount.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Any other questions, discussions? Hearing none, hearing none, I'd ask for, actually for a voice vote on this. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. The ayes have it, and the report carries. On to item 7, reports and recommendations of appointed and elected officials. Reports for myself. The Stormwater Task Force continues to meet and work and look at solutions to help our community. They, along with the electrical subcommittee, are actually meeting. I believe the electrical is actually meeting tonight. So hard at work trying to come up with a report here for us to make some policy decisions on. So it's all from me. Anybody else? Okay. Alderman Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If yourself or City Manager Grabowski could speak to where exactly is the, well, former Berteau campus for Elmhurst Hospital? What are the plans? I heard that there are changing some of the plans and possibly moving some people out. If one of you could please provide an update. I've had a few questions on that, and I'm sure others in the community would like to know.
I will take that question, Alderman. Currently, the Berteau site, they are closing down the behavioral health portion of the hospital. All that inpatient behavioral health will no longer take place at the Berteau site, nor will it actually take place at the new hospital. There is question as to what's going to happen with the Berteau site. Originally, they were trying to save part of it, demo part, and rebuild. That's all, I think, in question as we speak. As most of us know, our hospital is engaged with discussions with the 18th highest rated medical teaching institution here in the country, Northwestern Memorial Hospital. So I think a lot of these things will be answered in the near future, but until those items are discussed and hammered out, a lot of these questions are still going to be unanswered for a while. But that's, I think, ultimately, I think the goal there is for senior living. I think many of the residents are probably happy about the behavioral health leaving Berteau. I think some of the residents are unhappy that it's not going to be at the new hospital because there's a lot of seniors that were served by behavioral health. But as far as the Berteau campus, I think we'll kind of see how that all plays out with the Northwestern negotiations, because I'm sure that's going to be a whole part of the package. That's what I know as we speak. Alderman Gutenkopf.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was hoping we could get an update on Hahn Street and what's going on there.
On Hahn Street. City Manager Grabowski?
We have been talking to the developer of record regarding the real estate that he has under contract, and I can tell you that'll be coming to the city council shortly for consideration on that. And then moving forward, I guess it's contemplated that we'll put out the RFP again in short order so that we can continue moving forward.
So are you saying the developer has officially stepped back from the project?
No, that has not happened yet, but we're continuing to talk with them about that and how it would happen, along with the attorney from Mr. Storino's office, Nick Peppers.
Alderman Mulliner.
Just kind of an update, a real quick update for everybody. In the 7th Ward and actually in the south end of Elmhurst, ComEd has been working. They've had some good weather, so through the second half of the Yorkshire Woods area, they were actually pulling the Hendrix cable last week during this nice weather, which is helpful. There was also some power shutdowns, some temporary power shutdowns yesterday down Bryan Street as they put in some new cabling there. So ComEd is on the game and they're working their way forward. We just got to keep the pressure on them to keep this thing going through the rest of the town. So things are moving forward.
Thank you, Alderman. Anybody else? Okay, hearing none, I'll move on to other business. Anybody with other business? And hearing none, I ask for a motion to adjourn. Alderman Morley with a motion, Alderman York with a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. We are adjourned.